Okay.
Right on.
And now we go from one big influential band amongst guitar-driven rock to another big influential band amongst guitar rock.
Yep.
R.E.M. Reckoning. Matt, why don't we have you both run the numbers and start with take number one?
All right, so this is R.E.M.'s Reckoning, coming in at number 76 in the 1980s on Best Ever Albums, number 15 in 1984, number 514 of all time. It is R.E.M.'s fifth highest rated album on Best Ever Albums. We've already covered Murmur, that's at number 2, but the other ones we're still going to cover. Automatic for the People, Document, and Out of Time are going to be coming as well. And this album, R.E.M. is the number 20th ranked artist in Best Ever Albums in their overall rankings, and this album as well did not make Rolling Stone's list. I didn't really get to talk. Actually, no, I did talk about Murmur. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about you too. But this is another R.E.M. album. Even though I'm very familiar with them, I was not familiar with this album very much. So this was kind of a new listen for me, and I, of course, really liked it. I think this album, and there's going to be a similar take I have when we do U2, but there's a resurgence of my liking of a song of theirs that is now, I don't know, probably one of my all-time favorite R.E.M. songs, which Pretty Persuasion, man, is a freaking awesome song.
That's a Matt song right there.
I was getting so into that song this week, and there's just, first of all, you've just got a great, the Peter Buck jangle guitar, is in full effect on this record, which I'm, again, just loving all he does, and I love the way that is, but the chorus on that, the urgency, just the way, it's a very basic kind of thing that Michael Stipe is singing, but it's just the way he's singing it, the way the guitar's playing in the background, and there's like a kind of fast-paced, urgent sound to it that just I'm in there, man. I'm hook, line, and sinker. So just very very strong tracks. South Central Rain's always been a song that I've liked. I totally forgot about Don't Go Back to Rockville. That's another really polished song. Mike Mills' background vocals are all over the place here, and just solidifying that position in my mind as being one of the best background singers of all time. I'm just going to keep saying that. It's like the same thing. It's worth repeating because he is just so damn good at that. So, I can't say that I like this better than Murmur. I think I spent more time with Murmur than I did with this record, but I definitely like me some early art, and these two records, ones that I was not terribly familiar with. But it's just really, really solid. Time after time, I like how that's like a slower, it's not everything's fast on this, that one slows down a little bit, but it sounds, I don't know. I kind of want to say like, oh, they're finding themselves here, but like I felt like they already found themselves with Murmur. I think this is just volume 2 of what they were doing. They're not really deviating a whole lot, at least to my mind, from what they did with the first record. I think that they would kind of get a little bit more produced in subsequent years and albums. But this early R.E.M. stuff is just really, really solid and well deserving of a thumbs up on my end. No bad songs on this, and yeah, I love R.E.M. So I'm thumbs up.
Yeah, I think I might have to disagree with you, Matt, on the fact that they're not doing something new from Murmur. To me, Murmur was a much more straightforward rock album. Like here, they're drawing out stuff. I think it's a more atmospheric album. Songs like Camera and Second Guessing and stuff like that are so very different, right? Second Guessing is a very fast song, right? That's going along, and then a song like Camera is a song that's way more sprawling, right? With even like Eastern influences at different times. I think the thing I love, two of my all-time favorite R.E.M. songs are on this album, South Central Rain and Don't Go Back to Rockville, I think are like almost perfect pop songs, like pop rock songs. They're just incredible. They're so tight. They're so well constructed. They're kind of and you mentioned Pretty Persuasion, which is another incredibly. I mean, there's a lot on this. Harbor Coat's a great song. I have always had a soft spot for Seven Chinese Brothers. There's a lot right on this album. But I think the fascinating thing about Michael Stipe is like he sings kind of about nothing in particular, but the way he sings it, there's a conviction that makes it sound profound, which is going to be very interesting when we juxtapose. To me, R.E.M. and U2 are so interesting that way because like Michael Stipe kind of doesn't sing about anything specific, right? It's just, and I think he's even said like the words are more just loosely, situated to the song. They don't have a context. Whereas like every word,
that's my kind of lyricist, John.
Well, right. That's what's good. I never truly believed that though. You know what I mean? I think like Michael Stipe loved to live in ambiguity. You know what I mean? And kind of just sort of take that away and stuff. But like, whereas like every word that like Bono picks is like designed for like maximum earnestness, right? Whereas like I wouldn't say like R.E.M. at this stage is earnest, right? They're more sort of just their mood, their ambiance, and I think that's what it is. Like the layering of the songs, the way Michael Stipe's voice interplays with the ring, the jangly guitar and Mike Mill's steady bass as well as the background vocals. There's just something about the sound of R.E.M. that just really hits everything that I like about rock, which is, I mean, there are days where I mean, full disclosure, there are days where I will say R.E.M. is my all-time favorite band. And it's because like I rarely am left disappointed with them, and I don't think they sound similar song to song. As I said on the Murmur review, I feel they're experts at having a formula but deviating from the formula at all times. Like I know we'll cover Life's Rich Pageant, right, which is their fourth album. It's a shame we won't cover Fables of the Reconstruction, because that is, I almost would urge you guys before we do Life's Rich Pageant to listen to that album so you can see what they did on it, because that was when they came as close as they were ever going to get to breaking up, and they went overseas to record this album, and it's very dark. Very dark. Whereas the first two albums are atmospheric, I'd say. We talked about how the first album, Murmur, has the kudzu on the front, like the invasive species, and kind of like the music kind of was like that. Whereas this album has, I never know, is it like snakes that are on the front of this or whatever? But it's, once again, it's got like a sort of a southern gothic-y feel, right? Like in the background, which I think R.E.M. keeps. That Athens, Georgia-y sort of vibe to it. Fables sounds very different. And since we're not going to cover that, I do feel like I have to at least mention that. But I really love this album. I think it's very, very good. And the fact that I can't say it's even in my top 2 or 3 R.E.M. albums, I think more speaks to how I feel their catalog is so rich. I think there's an energy in Murmur that maybe pushes it a little bit ahead of this. And there are things, like Matt said, that these two albums can be viewed. There's elements that make them a paired set, but they are not like band does, I always think like a good example, guys, of what we know is like the Arctic Monkeys, right? Or the Strokes, right? Where they kind of did the same album twice, and it's really good, right? But it's kind of rinse and repeat the same theme. Even some of our favorite bands, right? Like, Zeppelin and the Beatles and stuff, they were kind of revisiting the same role in their first couple albums, right? I think R.E.M. has some differences and a little bit more versatility from album 1 to 2, especially considering this represents under a year's worth of time and basically 3 years worth of their existence. That's already starting to show here. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree with you both. Obviously, as I said in the first review, I hadn't really listened to R.E.M. in album form before, and I really like this album. Same as Murmur. They just continue to show how tight they are as a band. You can hear that throughout the album. The production is really good on this album as well. I agree with you, Matt. The backing vocals from him is something that really stuck out to me when I listened to them. They kind of do backing vocals in interesting ways too. Like right off the bat in that first song, Harbor Court, there's kind of like a delayed harmonizing, or like he's coming in like a second later to sing a part, and it just immediately sticks out and makes it a unique unique sound. So I'm really liking that as well. I really like Peter Buck's guitar. I think that's the standout for me on this album. The first side, which is I saw that they labeled them the left side and the right side of the album, but the first 5 songs are pretty much perfect. When I listened to them, from Harbor Court through Time After Time, Annalise, they're all very different. They're all just really catchy and fun to listen to, and there's a lot to notice when you're listening to them as well. I feel like there's a lot of different things you can pay attention to. The second half I liked, but not as much as the first half. I think I'm gonna need to listen to it a bit more. The R.E.M. I'm finding too is a band that I think I said this on the first review, or one of us says, a band I like more the more I listen to them. I think they reveal kind of depth to them when I'm listening to them. I also like Don't Go Back to Rockville. That it's got kind of a countryish feel to it that wasn't present on some of their other songs. And I like the incorporation of, they kind of do some unique things, like on Time After Time they add some bongos to it. And is it second? No, it is Time After Time. That's kind of almost got like a Middle Eastern feel to it or something.
Yep.
Slightly. That's very interesting, and I noticed it right away. And then on South Central Rain, which is another great song and would be a single if it wasn't, I would think, is kind of the piano that comes in at the end. So they have the core 4 of them, but then they also add these other things that really add something to the album. I can't tell if I like this album more than Murmur. They are kind of similar in that respect, although I feel like maybe this has some better, like we said before, higher highs on it. I think some of the tracks on this are more standout than some of the songs on Murmur. So yeah, another big thumbs up for me. I am interested to keep listening to them.
I would also say that avowed R.E.M. fan Tom York's favorite R.E.M. song is on this record.
Which one
let
is
me
it?
guess. Is it Camera?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Is it 7 Chinese Brothers?
Nope.
Okay.
No,
I just picked one at random.
It is South Central Rain. He is so
Well, Tom York and I agree, because that's a top 5 R.E.M.
Yeah.
song for me. And
I
Don't
also
Go Back to Rockville is a top 10 R.E.M. song for me. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I also think, I don't know, I heard him interviewed and they asked him that question, and that's what he said, but it also seemed like he could have gone a number of ways, and he just thought of he said the first thing that he came to his mind,
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Well, I'd also like to point out one thing about South Central Rain that I think it's a great song to illustrate it. We've mentioned multiple times how tight R.E.M. is, but they're tight while also having a ton of space in their tightness, which is such a unusual combination, right? Like they have a tight, put together sound, but within that, it sometimes takes them a while to get there, or it takes them, or they drag out parts in their tightness, which is so unusual when you compare it to something like punk or funk or other stuff we've identified as tight, right? Like or 60s rock that's there. A song like South Central Rain, that chorus, it's got like Peter Buck's guitar, which feels urgent, but also he teases you a little bit before you go into that real tight chorus, and then Michael Stipe's lyrics sort of, sorry, like he doesn't like quickly fire him off, right? He like leaves it there, while like Mike Mills, as you mentioned, Josh, sometimes he sings in conjunction, sometimes he sings higher, where it's in the front, sometimes he's very much in the back, singing a lower register. It's like another instrument in R.E.M. sometimes, the sound. And Michael Stipe's voice is so unique too that sometimes it sounds like a new instrument as well. And I think that kind of gets to a little bit of what I love about R.E.M. is that they keep you off balance a little bit while following a form that inherently is pleasing to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
Nope, just looking forward to listening to more.
Yeah, man, as I keep saying, and we'll do it, like one of the best bands of all time that somehow has not been processed in like recent years that way, and I'm gonna keep banging that drum.
I think I think that the albums that we cover from here on out are ones that I am more familiar with, like ones that I've owned and have listened to. So it won't get as many surprises, but they're still good. So
yeah, I know it's a big ask to weave in other albums along the way, but I definitely would encourage you to listen to Fables if you can.
Okay.
Because I do think it's important to understand that before we get to Life's Rich Pageant. Yeah.
I might be able to
Since
do
we're
that.
gonna do
It's not like
literally
it's a
every
chore
other-
for. Yeah, it's not like it's a chore for me to listen to R.E.M. So
Right.
it's not like you're like, hey Matt, why don't you listen to some more Eric Dolphy or something like that? You know, like that.